President Conference, Thomas Rayner, is supporting this motion. And sorry, Ray, I think you're very, very wrong, and I'll explain why. In his book, The Beautiful Room is Empty, Edmund White recalls the following set of opinions. You might think these are a bit antique, but here's we have some in the room. We were all leftists, of course, although we favoured Cuba and China and felt vaguely uneasy about Russia. For us, socialism was primarily social, since everyone we liked was on our side. The poor young, foreign peasants, the Eastern European proletariat, homosexuals we would never have thought of as a political entity, or if at all, then as the parasitical element every socialist state had to execute or expel. I was able to prove my seriousness as a socialist precisely by not mentioning homosexuals. What, you may ask, well perhaps not now, has a 20-year-old book about opinions long driven from our midst got to do with this motion? Why bring up this vile, backward-thinking example now? Well, Conference, the sad truth is that views very similar to this, if not worse, continue to pollute our movement. The very recent case of Mehdi Kazemi and the reaction in certain quarters to his plight illustrates how very little some have moved forward. Mehdi is a gay Iranian asylum seeker, threatened with deportation. This government thinks it reasonable to send him back to Iran because they claim that if Iranians are discreet about their sexuality, they will not get into trouble. This view is wrong-headed on two fronts. Firstly, is it reasonable to demand that LGBT people conceal their sexuality? Is it okay to ask an Iranian to live in the 1950s whilst LGBT people in this country enjoy unparalleled freedoms? Sexual freedom is good enough, it seems, for some people, for white Westerners, but everyone else should either stay in the closet or face being consigned to the torture chamber. This conference is a racist mindset. Secondly, Mehdi's boyfriend has already been murdered by the Iranian government. They know about Mehdi. In fact, the morality police have visited his parents' home. If he is sent back to Iran, he's likely to be arrested and murdered. Whilst most of you, I hope, will only sympathise with Mehdi Kazemi and feel revulsion for the actions of this government and the one in Tehran, others do not share your views. Another example. On radio and on national television very recently, the MP for Bethnal Green and Bow, George Galloway, accused those of us campaigning for Mehdi to stay of, and I quote, giving the khaki war machine a tinge of pink. He went on to claim that Mehdi's boyfriend had been executed for committing sex crimes against young men. But Conference, the Iranian government has made no such claims, no such charge against Mehdi's boyfriend. They are the invention of one very warped and bigoted mind. These homophobic comments, Conference, are a disgrace. Just as Edmund White's character proved his seriousness by keeping his mouth shut, Galloway, and it seems Ray Sorokin, expect all of us who oppose war to keep quiet on LGBT issues. If we fail this test, then we automatically become bloodthirsty warmongers. Conference, this motion and efforts of solidarity with LGBT people do not make us the pink wing of the warmongers. Galloway's comments, however, show him to be the brown shirt wing of the anti-war movement. Conference, support this motion and join in solidarity with Mehdi Kazemi and the countless others tortured and murdered by rotten regimes around the world.